and gentlemen, it's Monday. That means it's time for the Wrestling Inc. Monday Night Raw after show. And have we got a show for you? We've got Cody Rhodes getting whipped. We got Seth Rollins getting whipped. And we got them both getting whipped again. But before we get into all the big news, allow me to introduce the crew. I'm Jack Farmer. He's Justin LaBar and Jimmy Korderas reading a book over there that I asked about, the Big Book of Rules.
There you go. I dug it out of the archives just for you, Jack. I found it, and I figured, why not go over it just one more time? Because you never know. Always carry your gear with you. I'm going to be in Philly, so hey, you never know.
Hey, yeah. We gotta touch base then. We gotta say hello.
Absolutely.
Once you're there, I'm heading out on Wednesday, so very excited about that. Not trying to brag or anything. Very pumped to go, but
be there. Just to let you know, be there Thursday evening about We're looking at about 6-7 o'clock.
Yeah, let me know. We'll have to touch base.
Absolutely.
Grab a little photo or something. Are you going to be there for Mania too? You're hanging out for the whole weekend, or
just night one?
Very cool.
Very early on Sunday. Going to head back. We're driving because we figured the time it takes to get to the airport here and park your car and clear customs and then fly down. You might as well just drive.
Yeah, for sure. Justin, are you going to be in Philly?
I will not be in Philly. I will be in studio doing Busted Open, not just Sunday, but Saturday as well. Myself and my wonderful co-host and partner in crime, Jonathan Hood. We will be hosting both Saturday and Sunday mornings Busted Open, 9 a.m. to noon. So I'll be doing that.
Yeah, we got a
I just got to mention that you guys have been killing it on Sundays, man. Love it.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Jay Hood and I are gonna have a lot of fun both mornings.
Yeah, it's you guys do a fun show over there. I recommend everyone check it out this weekend. I think this is gonna be a very big weekend for your show. I think you're gonna have a lot of people tuning in because some big news is happening this weekend. Some big stuff is happening. So should be a good time for everyone to check you out on Busted Open Radio, Justin. This week, I want everyone to know, by the way, I want to thank everyone who's joining us here in the chat and being a part of the show. Please make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Something we're doing new today. Well, not new for, I guess, wrestling shows, but for us, we haven't done it in a bit. We're going to do predictions at the end of the show for WrestleMania. You're going to get our official WrestleMania predictions. So we want you to stick around till the end because I want to get all of your thoughts on the predictions as well for WrestleMania. And someone keep track at home and let us know who is the most accurate. Because if it's me, I'm going to rub it in everyone's faces. If it's not me, it's just a game. Don't take it seriously. Chock full of news. We went into today feeling like there wasn't going to be a whole lot of news today. But then, of course, by afternoon, everything went nuts. CM Punk, he was on a show and MMA Hour, and he talked about all sorts of things. He talked about Jack Perry, Tony Khan, how things went going back to WWE, burying the hatchet with Triple H. Just a ton of stuff, Justin, in this interview that I think a lot of people were just licking their chops for. This one delivered if you were looking for some insight. Any key takeaways from you from CM Punk?
You're right. It's a packed interview. Obviously, we could spend an entire podcast just on that. I thought it was, Punk does not shy away. He did talk real quick about seeing Vince for the first time, and obviously that's interesting just because Vince is somebody right now that's kind of like taboo. We don't talk about him. So I thought it was interesting. He basically said that he was working out in the gym up at the company offices, and Vince came in and gave him a hug, said welcome back, and let's reconnect. And Punk said we never reconnected. I think some stuff came up in his life. Of course, I laugh at the way he said it. It's not funny what came up. Of course, we're referencing the allegations. But otherwise, him talking about coming back with the company. I thought what was interesting is, at one point, he talks about the AEW stuff quite a bit. He talks about getting hurt in AEW, and talks about how he ended up having to pay for some of his own medical and such after his last injury. And what I thought was ironic when you look back at everything is he praised WWE for the way they've handled his injury that he suffered at Royal Rumble, and he praised just his entire experience so far being back. And of course, as we all remember, it was 10 years ago when he left WWE, and then that followed with a lawsuit to the company in regards to their and he went on. He had the famous podcast with Cole Cabana about how he did not like their handling of medical and their lack of protocol, according to him, etc. So it's ironic, but it's almost like we look at history, maybe what he was fighting for then put the wheels in motion for a better way that is now, and just the irony that he's now, so I thought that was interesting just to look at history. And then the other thing I'll say is, he was obviously very candid about his departure from AEW, about his, saying to AEW, saying to Tony Khan, you're a clown, I quit. And even before that, him saying he wanted to leave, and Tony Khan says, no, let's create a second show. We'll put you on the second show, and this and that. And he's talking about the drama, and he's talking about they don't run things like a business. They're worried about 5 stars, not but have a quarter full house. I thought all of that was very interesting to hear, these candid comments from him. And then hours later today, we get an unprecedented move from AEW. News has been breaking, PW Insider, Fightful Select, that they have released, I think it's like 8 or 9 names between their AEW and ROH kind of rosters. And these are not, contracts expire, we're not renewing, but we're being led to the reporting's telling us these are cuts, meaning they had more time on the contract, which that's something that AEW up to this point was kind of adamant that they weren't going to do. They might let a contract naturally run out and say, hey, we don't want to re-sign you, but we're going to at least honor a contract. But here, they're making cuts. So just hours after being accused of they're not there to make money, they're not running things like a business, and several times Punk says Tony's not a boss. He didn't handle things when he needed to handle things, and is not a leader. We get this somewhat out of left field move from AEW. I mean, one of the guys they had released, Anthony Henry, I think just had surgery. He's like hurt. So I mean, like, so I don't know. I don't know if it's one big coincidence. It's the first of the month. Finances and things like that do work where you do monthly. I don't know if it's the first of the month, if it's for going into the next quarter. Like, I don't know if it was already planned, but what a day.
Yeah, you make a good point about the possible, timing financially, because it is tax season. I don't know how their tax season breaks down over in AEW, but for us individuals here in the US, it's tax season. I hope you're all enjoying tax season, by the way. By the way, shout out to Jake Olinar, who says, hi, watching y'all while eating Mindy's Bakery. So very good timing there as we talk about CM Punk here and his interview. Jimmy, there's clearly a lot of stuff coming from the CM Punk interview, and a lot of stuff that we all kind of, it's interesting stuff that we wanted to hear, but I feel like we all kind of knew how he was going to say it or what his side of things were going to be, but it still feels interesting to hear these sides of things. Your takeaways on the interview, and as mentioned, we definitely want to talk about the releases from AEW. It's a terrible thing when people get released, and so I hope they all land on their feet. It's difficult to hear, but things I saw, and again, it seems like this is ongoing, but the boys, Dasha, Jose the assistant, Jorah Joel, Anthony Henry, Gravity, Stu Grayson, Parker Bordeaux, and Slim J were the names that I saw. Jimmy, a lot of news just in this little package. Any thoughts?
No, I watched a lot of the interview, and Punk is not a guy who shies away from speaking his mind. He doesn't, as he said in the interview several times, he doesn't like to peel back the curtain too much, but he did kind of do it in this interview in a different kind of way, a different Punk for me, a different kind of Punk that I knew. He seems to be happy with where he is. He seems to be content with what he's doing. Yes, the injury did have him. He had a little setback with that, but at the same time, he seems in a good place. And this is a different kind of Punk. He talks about the atmosphere in the locker room in WWE is completely different from the previous regime, which is, I'm hearing from a lot of people over there. And in AEW, I see his point there, and I don't want to call people out and name anybody, but I've also heard similar stories where that the inmates at some point run the asylum more than the boss does, because the boss doesn't act like a boss. He wants to be a buddy. And you can't run a business that way. Vince had his relationships with the talent, certain talents that he, I guess, considered friends, and were very friendly with Vince. But at the end of the day, his bottom line was, it's all about business first. And that is the difference here, I think. And Punk was trying to lay that out there. And I think he did it very well. And, Ariel did a great job of interviewing him and touching on all the points. And how the reconnection with WWE came to be, and he spoke one thing that I thought was very interesting, because as you know, Justin, you know, Jack, where the talent, the boys become friends. Regardless of what promotion they're working for, you develop relationships in this business. And it's not uncommon for guys to go to another promotion to visit. They try to stay out of the limelight, don't be seen, don't get like camera shots so they can put it online nowadays, because that's what happens. But you do visit your friends. And he was chastised for it, saying you're betraying the company. How are you betraying the company by, you have to, these things weigh on you. I'm not betraying the company. I'm going to visit some friends. That's all it was. There was no ulterior motive. And I found that very interesting as well. So there was a lot to take away from it. You can digest this for the entire podcast here, pretty much.
Especially when, to that point, Jimmy, when Cody came back to WWE, wasn't there like, I mean, it was like leaked security cam footage or something, but if I recall, wasn't like Ricky Starks seen like arriving to a WWE event with Cody, and it was just like, Ricky's still friends with Cody, and again, he wasn't like he was taking selfies posting on social. It just happened to be they got leaked from a third party, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe Ricky Starks got shit or got crap for it. I don't know, but like, I mean, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, but you don't get crap for.
Careful, Justin. We're not on Netflix yet.
But you don't get crap for cutting a promo and getting the entire audience to cheer for the top babyface in the other company. Chant his name. It's conflicting for me.
Yeah, it's I recommend everyone check it out. Ariel's a fantastic interviewer. Does such a good job of getting people to, I guess, like feel open enough to talk about certain things, but while also not like he presses things and he makes sure he gets the information, but he does it in a very good way where it doesn't feel like he's badgering people or trying to get stuff out of him. He's really talented at what he does, at least for my dollar. Anyway, so regardless of how you feel about CM Punk, AEW, the situation, WWE, whatever, I think it's a really fascinating interview. If you have any interest in wrestling, to check out. Clearly, it's CM Punk. So if you're someone who doesn't like CM Punk, you're probably not going to like what he has to say. If you do like CM Punk, you're going to love what he has to say.
I loved his honesty. Yeah.
So in general, it's a really good interview. I recommend checking it out. The way he approached the Vince McMahon allegations, I thought was very well said. And I thought he did a good job of, reminding us that, there are victims here and we need to make sure that, that's the most important thing, is making sure they're the best you can, made whole again. And as far as the AEW releases go, again, I just want to say, I hope everyone lands on their feet. It's always, especially in something like pro wrestling, I always feel terrible because it's such a dream opportunity and job. And sometimes I after listening to CM Punk interview, sometimes it doesn't feel like a dream job or opportunity, but anytime you have an opportunity like that and you lose it, it stings, and I think anyone who's worked in any type of entertainment has had those moments where they feel like, oh, I got this really great thing, and then it's taken away, and it's devastating. So I hope that those people are able to bounce back and continue pushing forward in their career and following their dreams one way or the other. Someone who's living the dream, well, maybe not at the end of Raw, but Cody Rhodes is, we'll talk about the end of Raw for sure, but Cody Rhodes said he signed a new multi-year deal with WWE that will push him past 40 years old. He had said before that he wanted to retire at 40. He says now that's not going to happen because the deal goes past 40. So he's going to keep doing this for a while, Jimmy. And I think that in this day and age, I think if this was, 1999, I would have been like, dude, 40 is like 1,000 years old in pro wrestling. But in 2024, I feel like there's a lot of 40-year-olds that are better than they've ever been.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys that are well into their 40s, even 50s. Somebody's on the Billy Gunn diet. I mean, that's out there and it's working for everybody. But it's good for him. I like the fact that he's putting his family first. And yes, you do want to live your dream, and his dream is to be a professional wrestler and follow in his father's footsteps and accomplish that and finish the story as the storyline goes. And on all that sort of stuff. But right now he is hotter than a pistol and he is on fire, and he is a guy that they could strap the rocket to right now. And he understands that. So he figures, hey, you know what? I'll do this for a couple more years and maybe hang back and hang with my family and be there for my daughter, which I really admire that he wants to do, because a lot of people forget that, yes, the guys make sacrifices by being on the road so many days a year. But the other people who make the sacrifice is your family that you're leaving at home, because you're missing birthdays, you're missing anniversaries, you're missing Easter, which we just passed through, and stuff like that, special occasions. So for him wanting to give back to his family for all those years of sacrifice that they gave for him to live his dream, God bless him. You know what I mean? It's a good thing. And who knows? Why not making those occasional comebacks like we're seeing great superstars do, and for that, get that big pop and that big payday every once in a while.
Yeah. And I was going to say, Justin, I think especially nowadays, getting past that 40-year mark, WWE has found I don't know if the right word is the best way to sunset wrestlers, where they do make the appearances sort of less and less and less. So they're able to still stay an attraction, but also not have to beat their bodies up as much. It feels like if you are someone like Cody Rhodes, you can still get a few years of being the guy, but then just slowly taper off and get a few more years of really good stuff in.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be 39 this summer, so seeing him work past 40 is not a really surprise, because, I mean, yeah, let's say he wins the world title this calendar year. I mean, you're going to milk some out of that. There's so many different guys coming up in the WWE system pipeline where you can think about potential money to be made working with Cody. And then even beyond that, even when he decides to go into maybe a part-time status and kind of do what you're saying, Jack, where you could have a few different special attraction runs. Look, I mean, he's a student of the game. Obviously, he's a student of the business. Came up with the business. I could very easily see him within some balance, joining the ranks of Triple H to Shawn Michaels, of him booking one of the shows, booking one of the territories, as they say, in due time. So I think, barring anything crazy, he's probably a lifer with WWE for the remainder of his working career and even into his retirement years. And you're right. The way that they can handle things, and the way that they are so much, again, going back to what I said earlier about Punk with medical and WWE, the way it seems like they're so evolved now, and the way the machine is running now. I mean, they were careful with The Rock tonight, which I know we'll get to. He could get a lot more years, and Cody, I think, has always had a pretty good lifestyle in the first place. I think he's obviously, he's learned from the generations before him. He's took pretty good care of himself. So yeah, I mean, he looks like he could work well into his 40s if he wanted to, within good reason and good care.
Yeah, so good for him, good for everyone involved there. We did have another little news segment article I want to get into, because Loud Miami Fan mentioned it. Did you guys discuss Uncle Howdy, Bray, Rotunda tribute and tease? Sorry if I missed it. I can rewind late afterwards. We didn't discuss it, but it was tentatively on the rundown, so I guess we'll just talk about it since you mentioned it. I'll be honest, I haven't seen the Bray Wyatt documentary, so I don't know specifically what the tease was, but I do know that according to Fightful, there are plans within WWE to bring Dallas back, and hinted at it by a tease at the end of the Peacock documentary. Justin, it seems like bringing back Bo Dallas in any capacity is an obvious slam dunk if you can do it. What say you?
Yeah, so I watched about half. It's a 2-hour documentary. I watched just about half of it today. Part of that was just life and being able to give myself another hour to focus, and the other part of it, actually, I wanted to just take a pause, because it's really good, but I mean, it is, I left off right about where John Huber, Luke Harper, Brody Lee passes away. I mean, it is heavy. There's a lot of emotion. I mean, they're doing all this, and you're seeing all this great stuff of Bray and his career, and all knowing that there's a sad ending to this. So it is heavy. So I actually just kind of made a choice to stop. I knew that we might talk about it here, but I was like, oh, I'm just going to stop. And so I haven't seen the tease. I read about it. Unfortunately, that did spoil to me earlier. I did read that there was a little tease at the end, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, I mean, he's still under contract, Bo Dallas, Taylor Rotunda. So yeah, what a nice thing it would be if he could have his best storyline run that he could dedicate to his brother. And maybe it's, I don't know what character it is or what he does, but I'm sure it pays some respect to Bray and Bray's creativity. And I'm sure we'll dive into it whenever it comes to fruition. I would just be cautious of pay respect to Bray, but I don't know. There'd be some different things I'd be watching out for in doing that, just to make sure you. I don't know. It's hard to. I don't know how to articulate it, but just be careful with it. Be careful.
Agreed.
Yeah, Secular Belt says Bo Dallas is not a slam dunk by any stretch. Of course, things can always go awry, but Jimmy, I want to say that I do think you have to be careful with it. You obviously, and we both WWE and the fans need to understand that this is not Bray Wyatt. This is a different person. But Bo Dallas has been in the game for a very long time. It's not like they're bringing in someone who's never done it before. And there's going to be clearly an emotional attachment to this character.
Real quick, as the documentary reminded me, and I forgot this, he was signed to FCW before Wyndham was.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He was there, but Wyndham was still playing college football. So the younger brother got there first. So, I mean, they're even longer from a, year standpoint.
Yeah.
No, but you're absolutely right, Justin. They have to be careful on how they present this, and not to give away spoilers for anybody who didn't see it, but apparently the documentary ended with a lantern, if I'm not mistaken, and a silhouette in the background approaching, and you don't see who the silhouette is. And of course, everybody's going to make the attachment that it is Bo Dallas. And there's where you have to be careful that you don't want it to be full out Bray Wyatt. You want it to be an homage to him. You want to pay tribute to him in a respectful way. And I like the fact that it took time. They took a little bit of time to do this instead of rushing into it. So, I think this has the potential. It has legs, definitely, to become something that will be talked about by a lot of people. And again, WWE lately has been very good at, presenting these situations to the audience and explaining them where they can get emotionally attached to this. And this definitely has a backstory to it where you can get emotionally attached.
So I think we'll have to see how that plays out. I'm excited for it, but we obviously have an episode of Raw that was very good. And before we do, as always, again, I want to shout out everyone, like, comment, share, subscribe. It's always very helpful. If you're in the chat, like No Way or Blue Chew, Stephen Camp, Laura Rock, Goodfella, you got JR, Killer of Demons, Ethan Cruz, Leonard Jones, Jonathan Torres, Daniel Barry, and a lot of other folks, JT98, Michael Lamb, Tommy, Tox Kazim. By the way, Ralph, I see your super chat. We're going to talk about that once we get to the big fella you're talking about here. But we'll definitely talk about that super chat for you. Cynthia, stalking you, Ebony Washington, Manish, all the way from India. Always appreciate you stopping by. Pronouns, pal. A lot of folks here. I can't go through y'all. I'm so sorry. Fernando Perez, Cody's Crybabies, Joe C saying, let's lurk. That's for all the lurkers in the house, the folks that are here, but they're not necessarily saying anything. Still appreciate you being here. Let's get into the show. I'm going to start with what I thought was just a cool thing that we've all speculated and wondered. It was finally announced. Roman Reigns will be inducting Paul Heyman into the Hall of Fame. Justin, this to me makes all the sense in the world, but I want to hear your thoughts.
No, it does. Look, I mean, the Hall of Fame, it's just like SmackDown. It's just like WrestleMania, just like Raw. You try to put together an attraction. You want people to tune in. So, I mean, Roman Reigns obviously has been linked with Paul Heyman for the last 3.5 years. So that's an attraction. There's other options. Of course, they're in Philly. So, of course, my busted open compadres of Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, obvious, would fit. Steve Austin, but I think, again, Steve Austin, CM Punk. But again, I think, Punk we know is going to have a role in Mania now. Austin, if he's going to have any appearance on Mania in any capacity, you want to keep him you don't want to tell the fans, hey, we know he's going to be in Philly. You want to let that be. So Reigns makes a lot of sense. And oh, by the way, Reigns makes a lot of sense to be the advertised person who's giving the speech to induct Paul. But that's not to say they're in Philly. Perhaps they get some of the ECW guys together and they have a cameo or something. Who knows? But Roman, I don't see how anybody could complain about Roman being the guy who inducts Paul Heyman.
Jimmy, what I love about Roman Reigns being the guy here as well is, and I've alluded to this before on a previous episode, but something about Paul Heyman is he's always very forward thinking. He's one of these guys, at least from what I've seen, doesn't live in the past. Like he doesn't talk about the ECW days all the time. He doesn't talk about his former big cell phone days and things like that. He's always if you ask him who the greatest of all time is, it's always who he is currently managing. And so I think that it makes total sense that he would have the guy that he's currently working with and that he's trying to promote be the guy to induct him, because that's just how he is. He's promoting the show. And so I think at the end of the day, Jimmy, Roman Reigns is the best pick.
I kind of agree too. I like the fact that Justin mentioned it would be nice somewhere along the lines where if Roman Reigns finishes his induction speech and Paul finishes his, that he's joined on the stage by some of the ECW originals. That would be kind of a cool moment as well. But again, Roman Reigns, everybody Paul is attached to becomes a bigger star because he is such an influence. He's not only a great mind behind the scenes, but he's a great persona on screen, and he elevates any talent that's attached to him. So, right now, like you guys said, the person that's attached to him right now, he is the wise man. Why not have Roman Reigns? Because Roman Reigns is in the main event of night 2. Induct him. It makes all the sense in the world in that regard.
Yeah, so I think that's just a great lineup, and I think that'll be fun to see. But of course, Roman had a busy night tonight on Raw. He had we had another good one. Bookended the show. We start the show with The Rock, and he recaps everything that's been happening. We even get some great TikTok reactions. Of course, then Roman Reigns comes out, and he says it's going to be the easiest WrestleMania of his life. Then Seth Rollins comes out through the crowd, and he challenges them to a fight. They pick Solo Sikoa in a Bloodline Rules match. The match happens, and Seth says he always has a plan B. The match is a car wreck of a match. Great to watch. Ends with Jimmy coming out, and then Jay coming out, and then The Rock coming out, and then Cody coming out, and then Roman Reigns coming out, and lots of belt whips for everybody. Justin, this to me was a perfect go home Monday Night Raw. Exactly how I don't think I could have drawn it up any better. What are your thoughts?
There's a lot here. I'll try to be brief with it all, though. I love the touch of them showing some of the TikTok videos of the younger kids. Yeah. I mean, that's something, again, previous administration wouldn't have done for whatever reasons, but that is something that is the new administration, the new way they produce and shoot Raw from a visual standpoint, from a format standpoint. They embrace 2024. And so I thought that was a nice touch. Overall, with The Rock, I'll say this. I like the fact that by the time we were at the end of the night, he had this entire Barclays Center in Brooklyn clearly against him. Rocky sucks, and and I think that's a great win for everybody involved here, because I've been in many New York City crowds and Barclays especially, and that can be a bizarre world. That is where the beach balls come out. That is where they like to sometimes be the star of the show. They like to cheer who they're not supposed to cheer and reverse. And they cheered Rock a little bit in his opening segment, but by the end, when it came down to the final thing you're selling before we get to this weekend, the fact that everybody was on Cody and Seth's side, that's a huge win for everybody involved. Because if you can do that there in Brooklyn, you can do it also in Philly, another city which can be known to be a little bit on its head. I thought that was important. I'm glad that they did not put The Rock through a table. They teased that spot real quick. I said, no, don't do that 5 days before Mania. Right. Glad they didn't do that. Good to see Seth was moving around pretty well. This is the first match we've seen him televised since his injury. So, again, glad he looks like he's doing well. Glad he did not get further injured. There's one scare I had watching that tonight at some point. Overall, I mean, God, the sound of those belt whips. I mean, there ain't no faking that. No, there ain't no gimmick in that. It's leather hitting flesh.
No, it's that old school. You got to take one for the team sometimes, and that's exactly what that was.
And they took more than one for the team, Jimmy.
Yeah. I'd have rolled out of that ring after that first one so fast.
I would have scrambled before he even swung. That's me. No, thank you very much. As someone who's taken a few over the years, a few taters, let's just say it. No, thank you.
Man, I think I could have naively taken the first one, thinking maybe I got what it takes. But after that first one, I'd definitely been like, I'm rolling out of this ring. I can't do this anymore. And then I would have walked around like DDP with the tape around my midsection for the next 3 years.
Exactly.
Jimmy, this one. So for this one, I'd love a couple things caught me off guard a little bit about this one. Again, I loved it as a fan, but they put Solo Sikoa in a tough spot in this opening segment. To say, hey, am I going to face The Rock or Roman Reigns? No, Solo Sikoa. I felt kind of bad for Solo Sikoa to be that guy in that spot there. I'd love your thoughts on that. And speaking to Justin's point, it was a bit risky putting Seth Rollins in a match like this right before his match. And was it a good move to have everyone get physical before Mania?
To the first point about Solo, I understand exactly what you mean, because when he challenged The Rock, you heard the place absolutely erupt because they wanted to see it. And then they thought, Roman Reigns, and who's got the biggest set of whats, and all that sort of stuff that Seth Rollins was using. He got that crowd amped up and behind him. And when Solo Sikoa stepped up to the mic and said, "No, you're not facing The Rock. The final boss." Or the tribal chief, you're facing me. You can almost feel the air get sucked out of the building. Mm-hmm. It was like, and that's when I thought in my mind, okay, I'm okay with it, depending on how they finish the night.
But I think they saved it by saying it's going to be Bloodline Rules, because that then told you, stick around, Rock and Roman aren't going anywhere.
Right, and it also got me thinking. We're going to the predictions later. I got the pencil out already. For that further down, I'll wait for that stuff. And sorry, the second part of your question as to Justin's point about
was Rock. Well, I should say Seth Rollins in a match like that, this close to WrestleMania. And do you think it was a good idea for everyone to get physical before WrestleMania, especially The Rock? Did you like that The Rock got a little beat up beforehand?
Yeah, because he didn't get badly beat up. It wasn't overly done. And with Seth, I think they were careful enough with him. You could see that Solo, at least I was noticing, that he was protecting him throughout the match and making sure that he wasn't going overboard. And, even though they implemented the tables a couple of times, it was done well. And even when Solo put Seth through the table, Solo stayed down as well, selling it as well, like he should. Don't get up and start doing, I have to say this once every week, a twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splash after you took a big bump like that. Going through a table, it should be a big deal. Both guys should be selling it. Maybe he doesn't sell it as much as Seth would, but he's supposed to sell as well. And I think they did a great job of protecting each other. Rock got physical. He got beat up a little bit, but it wasn't too much. And then they got, physical with them with the belt whips, as we talked about. And I thought it laid it out good. And again, got my wheel spinning for night 1 and for night 2. And we'll get to that later.
We got a lot of show to cover, especially with these predictions. I thought that was a fantastic ending. I tweeted The Rock with the cow vest sets a new standard for beefy men.
You should start wearing that when you DJ.
I'm going to start wearing that all the time. This is my cow vest.
I'm going to have to start doing curls if I'm going to wear a vest anyway.
Takes a certain kind of human being. You know what's funny is he had to custom order a vest that size of cow. You don't just find that at a rack somewhere. He had to call someone and say, hey, it's going to probably take 2 cows, but can you make me a cow vest?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say most everything in Dwayne Johnson's closet is custom. I can't. I don't see the Kohl's men's section suiting him real good.
Can you imagine him making the phone call to some farm saying, "Excuse me, do you have any extra large bovine lying around anywhere?"
I thought you were
the biggest cow you have.
I can't see him using Kohl's cash or Macy's cash or whatever. He's just got a custom designer. Just fit
He's at the rack, the half price discount racks. Rhea Ripley was on MMA Hour also, and Becky crashed the party and gets dragged out by security. Later, Becky Lynch wants to have the fight today. Adam Pearce says, too bad, not happening. Well, they say too bad, it is happening. They fight through security. They get a pull-apart brawl. Again, Jimmy, what I love this kind of stuff as a go-home situation. I thought this was just – the whole thing's excellent. I thought I love the fight at MMA Hour, or not really a fight, but the confrontation. I poor Adam Pearce being the April Fool, trying to make him not fight. This was just a great go home segment for both of them. What did you think?
No, I did enjoy it. I did like the fact that they were on with Ariel again on the MMA Hour, but they didn't get physical there. They didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
They saved it for the Barclays Center, where it should be. And the little nitpicky things, I did enjoy Becky's intensity, but at the same time, when she came out for her entrance and she raised her hand to do her entrance, save that. I wanted to see her more intense and just make a beeline for the ring, not stop to acknowledge the crowd, not just anything, just turn, grab the mic and say, you want to fight? I'm here. Come fight me. And that's it. And then just have Adam Pearce, little thing. But at the same time, it served its purpose. I think it got people interested. The crowd is still conflicted on who they want to cheer for, I think, because people do want to cheer Rhea Ripley as well. So it's going to be interesting what happens in Philly on Sunday, or Saturday, whichever night that match is.
It's a good observation. I didn't think about the raising the arm thing, but when you mentioned it, yeah, if she's so angry and upset, she wouldn't be posing. She would.
It's a little thing. It's a little thing that Cody does sometimes. When he gets that intense look in his face, I'd rather he not look at the crowd to kind of look for appeasement and look for a reaction. Just stare daggers at your opponent or who your intent is to injure.
He does have that angry walk he does sometimes when he like stomps around.
Yeah.
Which I love for some reason. But Justin, I want your thoughts on this. Just a funny thing real quick, though. I think that's in wrestling, it makes total sense. I get it. This is great. But if I told you that there were two people who worked together and one of them tried to attack them away from the office while they were being interviewed on a podcast and then tried to pick a fight with them later, you would say they were the bad guy that needed to be restrained. But in wrestling, you're like, oh, she's great. I love her. She's the good guy. She's attacking her on an interview.
Yeah, well, I'll get to tonight on Raw and my thoughts of Mania with them in a second. But to that point, Jack, I will say this. Again, I like WWE's 2024 approach with a lot of things of like they're just leaning into what the world is today. That said, and this is coming from somebody who gets to partake in the wrestling media and gets to do interviews with talent. From a fan standpoint, if I'm doing a sit down with Rhea, who I have a ton of respect for and a ton of fandom for, if I got told by WWE, hey, we're gonna have Becky Lynch come crash the interview and we're gonna kind of like shoot a little angle, the fan in me. What a moment, right? That's great. That's cool. But I have to say that I'm a little conflicted of them doing that little thing they did at Ariel's show when on the same show today, they then have Punk do what ends up being, and it's going to be, a very important interview where he's talking about a lot of real subjects. Vince, his AEW issues that involve at least one NDA, and so, and I said what I'm saying is when you have one interview there with Rhea where she's very much in character, and then we do this in character kind of angle of Becky's there in the building, you run the risk of it delegitimizing your interview you just did with Punk. Because you do run the risk of just people that aren't as smart or as clued in or what have you going, well, I just saw these clips of Punk on the same interview set, the same show, and he's saying all these things, but then I see was that a work? Is that part of a storyline? I just, even if it was 1 week apart, even if the Rhea thing had been last week with Ariel Helwani, and then this week was that the little bit of separation, but having it on the same day, same show. I have a journalism degree. I do find a little problem with that. I think that's a bad optic.
Yeah.
That said, Rhea Becky, it's there. I'm excited for the match, and Jimmy alluded to it, and I've been saying this on Busted Open, and I'm gonna say it again now. I hope that Becky Lynch and the office and everybody is prepared. Philadelphia is not going to be the resounding cheering section for Becky Lynch. At best, Becky can hope for a 50-50 crowd. At best, the office can hope for 50-50 crowd. At worst, it is going to be mommy's show, and they better be prepared for however this match is going to be laid out. They better be prepared for that.
Do you think there's anything they could have done to change that, Justin, or do you think Mommy's just too far,
it's organic,
too popular?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't even think aside from her trying to pull a rock and like bloody Becky outside of Becky's bus because Becky's got one, and then have Becky and Seth's kid in the background. Aside from that. I don't know. Jimmy just said organic. This has been going on for months. I've been saying for months. The people have just naturally gravitated to Rhea. She doesn't even fit really in Judgment Day anymore, which I hope we're going to rectify here sooner or later. It kind of feels like we are. It's just organic. The people want to cheer Rhea, and she just has an it factor you can't deny. And the only thing you could do is handcuff her and strip her of the things that made her special, which that's a foolish thing to do in the first, why would you do that? So no, I don't think there's anything to prevent it. Like I said, at best, you hope that it's a 50-50. Let's go Rhea, let's go Becky. But I'm not even sure that's going to happen.
Well, we got Baby Ice and Tori in the chat saying they're booing Becky. So the 2-person survey I just did makes it
survey says one more for the good guys.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested to see how that one plays out. I feel bad because I feel like they've done everything they should. It's just that's the way it is. But we move on, and we had a segment I thought was actually really clever, or not really clever, but really well done. Sami Zayn had a montage with Gable, and they trained him, and they had a really great emotional back and forth for a little bit before Sami Zayn overcame, and he showed that he's training differently, and then he got back in the ring with Bronson Reed. They ran it back. This time, he was about to get the win before Gunther drug out the lifeless body of Chad Gable and then just beat the tar out of Sami Zayn. Jimmy, I want you to go through all this. One, what I thought was brilliant, the training montage, and 2, them running it back with Bronson Reed and kind of, I guess, completing that story of he couldn't beat him before, but he is actually better now.
I like them both. I love that training montage. It reminded me so much of the Rocky III movie, where he's running on the beach and you could see that there's this something messing with his head. And he finally, when his wife asks him what's wrong, he says, "I'm afraid. You want to hear me say it? I'll say it. I'm afraid." And that's what it reminded me of right away. And the brilliance of it and him coming back and it was amazing. So, and I love the fact that the thing that kind of threw me off, though, was when Gunther dragged out Chad. Then Sammy came to check on him, and he knocked him up, with the belt and went to town on him. I don't mind that Bronson Reed stood in the back and let the action play out the way it did and not join the fray.
Should have been a count out.
Yeah, did I not hear
no bell? There was no bell.
I was not even.
I was going to say, because not even a DQ. He should not even a DQ.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I almost texted you. I said, where was the bell? I didn't hear no bell.
I guess Tony Chimmel took the night off. I don't know, but there should have been.
There was no winner in the main event either. I don't believe, because technically, if it's Bloodline Rules, Solo should have got a pin, right, or should have won the match at some point, right?
I guess at some point, but that's a different story because that's like a good announcer. They know when to lay out. And that was the time, for let the action speak for itself. But in this case, I think a bell, at least to signify that this is the end of the match. The match is not going to continue. It's almost like people were waiting and they were kind of confused going, whoa, what's going on? Is the match still on? That's one of the things in wrestling. When you hear the bell to start the match and you hear the bell to end the match. And then you can have the gaga afterwards. But at least people know that it's post-match beatdowns.
Yeah, I thought if they would have done a count out, that would have been a great way just for Bronson Reed just to have a win just on the record books. I was surprised. I was kind of baffled by that.
Yeah, Justin. Any other thoughts on this one? My notes say Bronson Reed stayed in the ring because he didn't want the smoke.
I thought the Performance Center stuff was really good. I'll say this: I thought that what we saw of the whole training, I was like, all right, they're at least making a really good attempt of like trying to give me some reason to believe that Sammy might be getting built up to beat Gunther. I still don't think it's happening. I know we're not at predictions yet. But what I kept seeing in my mind, though, with Chad Gable with this tough love and the way he was training them, I was like, oh, man, this would set up great if Chad Gable just cost Sami Zayn the match.
Mm-hmm.
If Chad Gable's still so bitter that Sammy's in this position at WrestleMania to get this shot at Gunther, and Chad just wanted that rematch. And the three of us have been talking for a year, maybe more, about give Chad Gable more. He Jimmy's praised him. I keep saying that he's the Kurt Angle, Owen Hart, love shot. And yes, this would be a heel thing, so it would not show off his comedy chops. But I'll take strong booking, credible booking rather, over comedy any day. If Sami Zayn looks like he's almost got Gunther down for the count at WrestleMania, and Chad Gable comes in and screws it, whoo, we're off and running with something there.
Yeah, really quickly, you mentioned that he's like this generation's Kurt Angle, and Owen Hart, love child. But didn't you think that in tonight, that video segment, he felt more Kurt Angle-ish than ever?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt watching it.
Yeah. The emotion, I thought the delivery, the way they were handling it, I thought they nailed it. That both guys I'm more invested in. We'll get into the predictions in a little bit.
And real quick, they've been purposely distancing. He has not been seen with Otis and Maxine for weeks. To me, that's like sending like a subconscious message to the fans. Start to get ready to boo him. Don't put him with the lovable act of Otis and Maxine.
Whatever they do with him, he's earned this right. I think this guy's another guy who is on the way up. Let's put it that way.
Chad in the chat with a super chat says, I know I'm a little late, but imagine Joel Gertner inducting Paul Heyman into the Hall of Fame after one of his infamous ECW show pay-per-view intros. Well. I used to love Joel Gertner when I was younger. I was the perfect age for Joel Gertner humor when ECW was rocking and rolling.
As entertaining as the quintessential stud muffin is, Chad W., we're talking about Joel Gertner.
And Roman Reigns.
Or Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Right.
What's a not to put down the stud muffin, but what's a sexier marquee?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of. I want to think of one of his rhymes that isn't completely.
You can't say it on here.
No,
I already almost got thrown off 12 minutes into this podcast. You don't you go trying to do something.
Yeah,
I gotta get out of my Sirius XM. I can say whatever I want. I gotta get out of that mentality. I gotta bring back to.
Well, good thing we didn't bring my reffing it up buddy on here, Brian Hebner, because you can't stop him from dropping them.
Yeah, that's it. Chad says it was for the laughs. KOD went to college with Joel Gertner. Yeah,
there's a dorm to hang out in.
That must have been fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
They were hanging out with Ricky Staniski.
Ricky Staniski. Drew McIntyre had a segment, and he stands in front of a coffin. And honestly, the second I saw Drew McIntyre in front of a coffin, I was like, "This is already great. This is already a great segment." He's been so patient though. Ralph the Ace with a comment. Super chat says, "Guys, amidst all these established talents, Drew Mac is killing it right now, getting Kurt Angle early 2000s crowded roster flashback." Justin, thoughts on this segment and thoughts on that comparison?
A very good, interesting comparison. This is such a fascinating situation. You have Drew versus Seth for Seth's title with Punk on commentary, but look, I'm going to be watching Drew and be listening to Punk. Seth has kind of become a second wheel, a third wheel in this one. Just like he is on the night one. And Drew, I know there's been a lot of speculation, rumor, innuendo. What's the situation of his contract? Supposedly his contract expiring this spring. Has he re-signed? Has he not? At this point, he has to remain with WWE because the world and Drew McIntyre has the best payday probably ever in his career awaiting him with when he and Punk can be the main event to a PLE whenever that can be, whether that's SummerSlam, Survivor Series, next year's Rumble, whatever. But WWE is the only place that can happen. Punk ain't going back to AEW. Okay. And TNA, as much as I love the little engine that could right now, I don't, if they can afford both Drew and Punk, they don't have the television distribution that's adequate for the payoff. There's nobody else in North America. I mean, so it can only take place in WWE. So at this point, Punk and Drew and WWE, they are bound to each other until you can get this payday. So that's all. That's my takeaway from all of this.
I hope Drew signs just the biggest contract imaginable. Jimmy, we've all been loving this Drew McIntyre stuff, and now he's become that guy that you just see him on screen and you're just like, here we go, which is perfect pro wrestling. Yeah.
And tonight that we talk about drama, and I love making movie comparisons and stuff like that. Tonight I saw, Raging Bull Drew McIntyre. When he had those little looks in his eyes, and when he held that podium and they did that tight shot on his hand, gripping the podium and squeezing it tighter, little things like that, where you just felt like, oh my goodness, I really don't want to mess with this guy. And poor Seth, what he's got to deal with. And I like the fact that Punk is on commentary, because obviously he can talk a good game, but he's got issues with both guys. So now it's got you thinking, is Punk going to get involved? And if he does, who's he going to, quote unquote, side with? It's got the wheel spinning again. It's got people guessing. It's nothing's a certainty right now in people's minds. Of course, you can always say, "Oh, I see this coming." No, you don't. You don't know what's coming, and that's the beauty of it.
Yes, that's what makes it fun, because it could go truly any way. We had a match that a 6 or 8 man tag, New Day DIY versus Judgment Day. Judgment Day get the win. Later, Legado del Fantasma joins Judgment Day, and Judgment Day is not too happy about it. Ricochet gets a win over Ivar, and Judgment Day is like, who's going to beat this guy? And JD says, I'll do it. But Dominic says, if you can't do it, my pal Andrade will do it. Justin, this looks like it's the end of Judgment Day, but I want to pitch something to you. I want to throw something to you. We've been talking about how do you make Dom even worse than ever, and different ways he could maybe break Rhea Ripley's heart. I saw Elektra Lopez hanging out with Legado del Fantasma, and I'm starting to think this could be a match made in heaven.
It could. I still stand by, if you're gonna have Dirty Dom do Mommy Dirty, you have him do it with Nia Jax, because who's got more heat than Nia Jax for Dom to. But yeah, I mean, yeah, between Priest and then Dom looks like he's doing into business for himself, but then Rhea feels like she's naturally kind of taken off. Yeah, it feels like Judgment Day. It feels like that's, and then by the way, Priest still has that briefcase. So it feels like we're getting closer to something happening here with Judgment Day. They've had a great run, far better run than I ever thought when the origin of the Judgment Day started. Feels like something's there. To Ricochet, I think you might want to buy some stock in Ricochet. Now, Ricochet's feeling hot. There's momentum here. I mean, he can do things. I mean, my question with Ricochet is, he can do things that once you're in the building, when you see him, you will remember him. I've yet to ever see anything with Ricochet where he can talk you into the building. He got his shot last year with Logan Paul, and Logan Paul schooled him. And so that's my thing. Ricochet to me has always been, he's a guy with physically with stunt double capabilities. He can do anything. He looks fearless, but he's also got stunt double charisma. I've never seen him cut a promo that I'm like, wow. So, and I want to see him succeed. I'm not trying to so, but I think there's some stock to buy in him. I feel like some momentum is happening here with him. Not last week with that shooting star press that he hit when JD McDonald was still standing vertical. Like I feel momentum. I'm buying in, but I'm cautious because again, that's the most important piece. You got to be able to talk people into the building. And so that I don't know where that's going to come from, but I am really digging every time I see him come to the ring. I'm watching his matches. So keep an eye on him.
Yeah, Jimmy, there's a lot to break down from this Judgment Day stuff, and a lot of different ways it could go, because you've got potential warring factions, you've got splitting factions, you've got alliances that could be made and broken up. But to Justin's point, again, I'm watching. I have this. I would see the same thing with Ricochet. I think he's going to have a hot summer. I think that, there are things you expect during WrestleMania season. There's also things you expect during that summer season. And it feels like the summer slate is built perfectly for Ricochet. Justin said something I loved. He's a stock to buy. I got a feeling his stock's going to be going up through the summer. I don't know where it's going to go after that. But when I look at like Money in the Bank coming up and I look at all these different things that are going on, I feel like he could have a very good summer.
Right. No, I totally agree. And I said this many times about Ricochet. He ticks a lot of boxes and he is remarkable in the ring. There's no question about that. There's no question about his in-ring ability. That when he caught Ivar on that cross body and walked around the ring, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Holy crap. How did he do that? You know what I mean? I don't know. Can we say that word on here? I don't know. Is that PG enough? But
we'll find out.
Well,
check your email.
Yeah, I know. But that was incredible. That was absolutely incredible. And the other thing he does is, yes, he can do those tremendous moves, but he paces them well. They're not one after the other. He gives it time to breathe. He gives the audience a moment to absorb what he's doing. And like Justin said, that's the only thing I want to see from him. I want to see Ricochet. I want to know who he is. I want to get invested in him as well as what he can do in the ring. That's the only thing I'm missing from him right now. But yes, they are looking like he's climbing that ladder. And it's one rung at a time. You don't have to jump from the bottom to the top, which he can probably do. But you don't have to do it that way. And as far as the bloodline, the Judgment Day and all that going on back, the thing that caught me the most was Damian Priest. Looks like he's emerging as the leader of Judgment Day right now with the way he's presented. Not Finn Balor. But to a degree, I guess you could say Rhea Ripley is sort of. But it looks like Damian Priest is breaking out as kind of like the leader of Judgment Day. And that line, you throw away that line. It's not a throwaway line. Just at the end, it just made me pop where he said, hey, is he throwing my darts? Is he using my darts? Or whatever it was. I just popped out loud for it. Yeah.
And the last thing real quick with Ricochet, and it's cool. McAfee made a little play on words about Puma and Prince. My first real scene of Ricochet was in Jack's neck of the woods when I was out in Los Angeles for Lucha Underground. He played a masked character called Prince Puma. And Lucha Underground is very good with stories and backstories. It was very cinematic. And that's what kind of holds me up right now, was seeing Ricochet, the man unmasked out there in WWE world, is when he was the Prince Puma character, and I think he was managed by Conan, and there was a great backstory. He was the Aztec ancestors and et cetera, et cetera. But it was a compelling backstory and good video. And that's kind of like what I think is like the perfect thing with him, is like, give him a backstory, maybe even give him a mouthpiece, something of who he is, and then he will deliver and do everything that nobody else can do bell to bell. And that's the thing. Right now, he's unmasked. He's Ricochet. He's on his own. No mouthpiece. No whatever. There's no mysterious backstory. And it's that's where I think it kind of hinders him. It's like I don't know if he can tell me something interesting about Ricochet other than I can do these physically. But that's what kind of holds me up. And I thought it was funny that Pat made a play on words with the Prince Puma thing, but that's where my mind goes back to. That's kind of where I handicap him against is Prince Puma was the perfect kind of situation. If only we could put that on the mainstay of WWE.
That's a really great example, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking, I don't really know Ricochet. Like what kind of person I know what I see in the ring, and obviously he's athletic, but like, knowing where he's from, even if they just gave him a not a Prince Puma backstory, but even if they gave him a real life or a human backstory, if that makes sense. Anyone who watched Lucha Underground will know what I'm talking about. A more grounded backstory, just so I can go, okay, this is who this person is. Because even, you watch like a Chad Gable, I know his backstory. He competed in the Olympics. He went and got his master's degree or whatever recently. I know who he is, but I don't know what music Ricochet listens to. I don't know where he grew up. I don't know any of these things. They've never really presented them to me. And so if I just knew, like, even if they're just like, he grew up in this area and whatever, just so I kind of know more about him. But they've never really told me anything about who he is.
Exactly. And
that's not even Mike. You don't need to be a good mic person for that either. Just tell me who he is.
Yeah, exactly. And not to make this about me. Full disclosure, I'm stuck in the 70s when it comes to music. What can I tell you?
Yeah. So 70s were a great time. We had a couple of things. Speaking of music, we'll kind of get through these because we do got to get to our predictions. But speaking of music, Lil Wayne will be at WrestleMania and dropping his new single. It sounds like that should be fun. Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree beat Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, and Damage Control beats the team of Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Tegan Knox. Jimmy, these were kind of, it felt like, let's give these guys wins before they go to WrestleMania kind of matches.
That's how I felt it. But at the same time, I like seeing a little more character coming out of Candice. I think there's something there, and she's showing something. I've known her from the indies up here and stuff like that, and I know what she can do. So she can deliver. And now we're starting to see a little bit more fire out of her. So that's a good thing. And I like that they're featuring the women a little more.
Yep. Justin, any takeaways here? Like I said, this felt a little bit like these guys all have matched at Mania. Let's give them a win going into the big show.
Yeah, I mean, again, I like what they've highlighted something with Candice, as Jimmy said, and this is also a case of, again, you want to be selective of all your talent on the top half of the card, not asking them to work a match tonight because you want to keep them healthy, you want to keep everything, and so but you got to put on a show, you got to put on some matches, and so this is a great time to give some of these talents some minutes to shine when they are not the. Mania is not heavily dependent on their workloads, put it that way. Of course, you don't want them hurt, but I'm saying you put them out there, give them a chance right now. Keep building a story with Candice as we've been doing in this situation.
Cool. Well, let's get into the predictions. Everyone's keeping track. By the way, Baby Ice says, would you judge him if he listened to smooth jazz, Jack? Maybe I like smooth jazz, Baby Ice. You never know. It could have good saxophone or trumpet. Come on, the brass. How do you not love it? Let's talk about WrestleMania. We're going to do our predictions. Someone at home, keep track and let us know how we do here. I've not actually thought about this whatsoever, so I'm going to be kind of shooting from the hip. Let's start. And everyone in the chat and anyone who's listening later, leave your comments with your predictions, and we'll see who wins. And maybe we'll get someone at Wrestling Inc. to keep track and have a scoreboard and see how this goes. We start Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits versus Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain, the Final Testament in a Philadelphia street fight. Going just across the screen based on how I read it, Justin LaBar, who's taking the win?
Final Testament should win this. It's a gimmicky match where anything goes, basically. So, but I think they need to win. This is the new faction they put together in the last few months. I think it's still kind of lacked some traction. I think they need the big win here. Cross needs it. Authors of Pain need it. Bobby's been there, done that. He's been a world champion. Street Profits, that's a whole other reset project. Great talents, but we need to reset some things. I'm going to go Final Testament because I think logically that should be the winner.
And Tutgraph asks, what are we doing? This is participatory. Yeah, if you want to participate, feel free. Now, I'm trying to look at notes and things, so I'm not keeping track. So someone's got to keep track at home. I'll let someone in the chat keep track, and I'll just trust you that you kept good track here. But absolutely, if people want to, I think that anyone who's listening at Wrestling Inc., if you're here in this part, I think it'd be great if we got the viewers to chime in as well. Maybe have a little league, so Tutgraph can brag about getting them all right, or Bernie DC can brag about getting them all right. I'm terrible at predictions, so don't expect me to be.
And no fudging the numbers.
No fudging the numbers. If the person who's keeping track also wins, I'm going to be very skeptical of this. But I am going to go with what I agree with Justin. Final Testament needs to win here, because if they lose here, I don't really see a point for them at this point anymore. And I feel like Lashley and the Street Profits are. I feel like that they can go their separate ways and be fine. But if Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain lose, what are we doing? What are we doing anymore? So I think going forward, they need to get the win. Jimmy, what do you think?
I hate to make it a three-way tie. I'd like to go out on my own on this one, but I can't. I really agree with you guys. I think the Authors of Pain need this more, and I think there's something there, especially with Karrion Kross. So Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits will be fine afterwards. Whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter. The Authors of Pain do need this, and Karrion Kross.
Baby Ice says Lashley and the Profits are taking this one. Ethan Cruz says, sing it with me, everyone. Lashley. Killer Demon says Testament will win. So a little split there. We'll see. It looks like a lot of folks think Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, though. Our next matchup is going to be Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar. We'll go. I'll take it first this time, and we'll just keep rotating that way. I think Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar gets the win. It looks like they're building up this new group with Dominic potentially, and you need to get some steam there. So I'm going to give them the win here. Jimmy, what do you think?
I'm going to go with the other side. I'm going to go with Ray and Dragon Lee in this one, and it's going to cause friction, I think, with Dominic and Escobar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go Ray and Dragon as well. I'm gonna say possibly friction, like Jimmy said, but also as the Judgment Day tries to evaluate their WrestleMania performance. Dom, what are you doing? You're already going off doing your own thing, and you're not even representing the Judgment Day properly. You're losing at WrestleMania. So I think there's some strife there. So I'm gonna go with the good guys.
A lot of people saying Ray and Dragon Lee. It looks like Tutgraph, Baby Ice, Zach Marine, everyone really. Killer Demons, except for Fernando. Fernando's with me. Everyone else, I think, is.
There's one in every crowd.
Well, we move on, and Jimmy, you get
broken clocks right twice a day.
There you go.
I got a 50-50 chance, right? So,
but there's only a 10% chance of that.
You're gonna notice my worst predictions are gonna be the ones that I go first on. If I can copy you guys, I'll do okay. But Jimmy, you go first on this one. It's Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill against Damage Control.
They need the win. Jade Cargill needs to look dominant as heck in this one, and I predict that their team goes over. And maybe you see a little tension between her and Bianca afterwards, but not until Jade is very dominant.
Justin, what say you? Do you agree?
Yeah, there's no argument to that. The baby faces win, and Jade gets the pinfall. There needs to be a reevaluation of Damage Control. Damage Control is just kind of, they're just kind of there. And not everybody can be top the card at the same time, but they're just kind of there. Yeah, absolutely. Jade Cargill gets the pinfall for her team. Yeah,
I got to go with you guys. I feel like this is the Avengers of the women's division. Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill. They're going to win, and I think that'll probably lead to a tag team title shot of some kind down the road. But it looks like everyone agrees. I also feel like Damage Control has also kind of run its course, and we're ready to see that disappear. But we move on to one that is going to be fun. AJ Styles versus LA Knight. One that I think is going to get I think this one's going to be a secret show stealer potentially here. Justin, two big fan favorites, at least as far as who I know some people get booed and some people get cheered, but I think as fans, we all love both of them. AJ Styles, LA Knight.
I'm going to go with LA Knight here. I think the office would agree that LA Knight's win at Mania against an AJ Styles is far more important than vice versa. And I'm going to say as we go into the new calendar year for WWE, LA Knight right now is a SmackDown superstar. I would not put it past that they move him to, if they have to move him to Raw, if all of a sudden the world title picture on Raw, meaning the title that Seth currently has at this moment, if LA Knight has a chance to be in that picture, or if Gunther's IC title, comes of it, whatever. I think that he wins, LA Knight wins a Mania, and I think that I would not put it past him to move shows in order to get him in a higher spot of the card based upon what's available. If Cody beats Roman, LA Knight's a babyface. He's not going to go challenging Cody. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if Gunther's still IC champion, or if that title moves on, or if Drew becomes the champion off of Seth, whatever, or if Priest cashes in, I feel like there's more room for LA Knight potentially if he moves over to Raw to continue to move up the ladder, so to speak.
Yeah. Chad W says LA Knight. Zach Marine says LA for sure. Stephen Camp, AJ Styles, James Curtis could see AJ here. This is going to be a tough one to call, but I agree with you, Justin. I think that we've been waiting for LA Knight to really ascend to the top. And I think that this is that stepping stone for him to get to that top level because people love him. It's time to give him that opportunity. And like I said, summer is the time where people like LA Knight thrive. And I think that this is going to be his time. So I go LA Knight, Jimmy Korderas.
Oh, I hate to make this unanimous again, but I see all those points. You guys are hitting it right on the head. He doesn't need to win it. Obviously, you can get over without going over. But what you said, Jack, had me thinking the same thing. I was thinking the exact same thing right before you even brought this match up, that this could be the potential Steamboat Savage of this WrestleMania.
Yeah. We get to brothers doing battle at WrestleMania. Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. I think this is going to be an exciting one, but I feel like this is Jey Uso's match. I feel like I'm pretty confident Jey Uso is going to get the win here. I feel like he's hot. Like he's someone who could be something really big next year. He's already done very, very big things. I just see him being catapulted a lot more here in this situation. I think Jimmy will be fine one way or the other. It'll be a fun match, but I go Jey. Jimmy, do you go with your own namesake? Or do you go with Jey?
I'm going to go with my own namesake because right now I think it benefits him more to get some yeet heat. So there's going to be some sort of shenanigans, but Jimmy will come through and then they can continue their rivalry afterwards.
Yeah, Justin, we got a lot of Jey all day. We got no yeet. We got yeet. Tox says Jey. Laura Rock says Jey. Are you yeet or no yeet?
You know, Jay's over, which is great. I'm going to go with Jimmy as well. I think that Jey is over. Obviously, the bloodline, there's shenanigans, as Jimmy said, that there's so many moving parts. So if Jey loses on account of that, it's not going to deflate his fandom. I think Jimmy has kind of been lost in all this in a little bit. You know, Solo's the enforcer. Obviously, you have Roman and Rock, and I feel like you kind of need this for Jimmy. And I feel like there's also some kind of maybe something where, depending on what happens with Rock and Roman, having Jimmy also be able to tout, I handle my business, and having got to win. So I'm going to go Jimmy Uso here.
You put doubt in my mind now, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm a man of conviction. I'm staying with it. I may forget that I said this. I never keep track of my predictions. So what I like to do is I'm going to do a different show and I'm going to predict all the opposite things and then just cherry pick the ones that were right. We get to the ladder match and it is for the tag titles and it is Judgment Day versus New Catch Republic versus DIY versus Awesome Truth versus New Day versus A-Town Down Under. And there are rumors, Jimmy, that Pretty Deadly may be added. What do you think? Who do you think comes out here? I'm glad that you're taking this one first because it's there's a million choices.
I know, but this one here, I hope they don't add Pretty Deadly to this one because it's already going to be a cluster for them with so many teams in there. So this is a tough one to call, but I'm going to go with the A-Town Down Under because I think that's a team that can talk. They can walk the walk. They can deliver in the ring. And I don't think people are quite on board with DIY just yet. They're getting there. I don't know if winning the titles at this situation would help them get to, over the top, so to speak. So I'm gonna go with A-Town Down Under.
Justin, do you agree? A-Town Down Under, or do you got a one of these other options?
Yeah, no, for me, it comes down to them, A-Town Down Under or New Catch Republic. I hate that damn name.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the edge to A-Town Down Under because they can talk. New Catch Republic, again, we're building them, but I don't see them talking to people in the building. I don't see as much promo work right now. But this is definitely coming off of Judgment Day. I think as we've talked about, the Judgment Day is probably heading towards some real implosion, some real problems. DIY, I love both those guys. The crowd is just not responding to them consistently. They respond when it's goofy. Oh, look, it's Triple H and Shawn Michaels. So R-Truth is confusing them. But obviously the New Day, tremendous veterans. But Don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Theory and Waller.
I think those are good picks because they can also talk and they can kind of focus more on SmackDown, which those tag teams have been a little tag team championship hungry for a little bit. And so Tut Graph asked if I could read through the names again. It's Judgment Day, New Catch Republic, DIY, The Awesome Truth, New Day, A-Town Down Under, and apparently there's rumors that Pretty Deadly might be in it. I don't stick with rumors. I only go with who we have listed. And so with that being said, I'm going to say the New Day. I think the New Day are a team that they could go over to SmackDown and they could help rejuvenate a lot of what's going on over there. Plus, they're a tag team that has won it a lot. So I feel like it's a safe bet. You know, I feel like if you pick New Day every time, you're probably doing pretty good. So I'm going to go with New Day on this one as a bit of a surprise win here. We then go to, by the way, we have Awesome Truth seemed to be the most common name I saw over there in the chat. Justin, you get the first crack at this one, I think. United States Championship, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Logan Paul.
This is actually maybe the hardest match for me to pick in trying to forecast and book. More often than not, especially a title like this, a mid-card title, if it's on Mania, it's titles changing hands. You put it on this platform to, anoint a new champion. I mean, Randy could have it; it'd be fine. But I mean, does he need it? No. I'm going to go with Kevin Owens just because I think Kevin's got more bumps right now in his tank. So I'm going to say Kevin takes it and can have the U.S. title for the house shows and for that. But I don't have a ton of confidence, as you can hear in my voice, because I mean, maybe Logan retains it because he's such a polarizing figure and he's got his following. So I could see the argument being made that he's of value. So let's keep this mid-card title on him. And then we've seen them put, we John Cena held the U.S. title once upon a time. So I could see them saying, "Oh, let's put it on Orton and try to elevate that title's prestige." So I'm really shaky on this, but if I have to be picking one, I'm gonna go Kevin Owens. It's
really split in the chat too. Adonde says Logan, Killer Demon says Kevin Owens, but Zach Marine says Randy. Mr. X, good to see you, Mr. X. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Says I think Logan stays champ to play the annoying heel. I'm going to go with Kevin Owens because I feel like Kevin Owens, Logan Paul can disappear for a little bit and come back anytime he wants and does whatever he wants. Randy Orton, I agree. I think he could, there's bigger fish he could fry if he wanted to, with all due respect to the United States Championship. I feel like Kevin Owens needs a win. I feel like he needs a really strong win, especially with how long they've been going back and forth with him and Logan Paul. I'm going Kevin Owens. Jimmy Korderas. Who are you going with?
Like I get what Justin's saying. This one's a really tough one to decide on who's going to win. It's an interesting one, that's for sure. I mean, Logan Paul, like you said, is a heat magnet, especially with this audience. And Kevin Owens is a good choice because he could use it right now. People are behind him. Randy is just the ultimate. He's so smooth. I love watching his work in the ring. I'm rambling a little bit here, trying to figure out who I'm going to pick because it is so tough. But you know what? I'm going with you, Jack. I'm going with Kevin Owens. I think he could use it right now and build off that momentum that he's got.
And can I say this about Randy? If Randy doesn't win this title, which I don't think he will, if he doesn't win this title, and I know we'll get to Gunther in a second, if Gunther was to retain, and I was talking about LA Knight, maybe going to Raw and moving around, oh my God, I would love to see Randy Orton and Gunther.
That would be a master class in psychology.
I would love to see Randy Orton and Gunther.
See, that's why I'm not picking Randy Orton because I feel like Randy Orton versus Gunther, Randy Orton versus a maybe new champion Cody Rhodes, or even a still champion Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre.
Possibly.
There's just too many. I feel like there's too many matchups that are a little bit more enticing at that level than there are at the United States level. And so that's why I don't think he's going to win it.
Yeah, and Randy's at that point in his career where he's going to elevate somebody.
But I could see Randy going to Hunter to Paul Levesque and saying, I want to work with Gunther.
Yeah.
Give me Gunther.
NYC Demon Diva, the one and only, saying, I think the two teams are winning and the titles will split. Michael Cole said the match will end when both titles have been retrieved. So there might be a split of the titles.
Very interesting.
That's a tall task. Do they have enough tag team depth to do that?
We'll have to see. We'll have to find out. Stalking You is predicting the little doggy emoji. I think it's my turn to go first this time. Sami Zayn versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. We kind of alluded to this, and I think we might have all similar thoughts, but I feel like the story here, Sami Zayn's story going forward, if he wins, I feel like stops. And the story doesn't stop in WWE. It doesn't feel like this is stopping. I think the story is Sami versus Chad Gable going forward, and Gunther continuing his reign as champion. I'm going Gunther to retain. Jimmy, do you agree?
I don't know what to add to that other than I agree, because as much as I'd love to see Sami as IC champ right now, I don't think it's his time. Gunther is just too damn good right now in that spot.
Yeah, I agree with Gunther, as I said, and I'll point this out too, as we just talked about the tag team match. It's interesting that in this tag team catch-all match, they didn't bother to put Vinci and Kaiser in it. So what does that mean?
Yeah, that is an interesting point.
It is. I mean, they've been so prominently featured,
right?
To not put them in it,
they haven't really been featured like in the past couple of weeks.
Well,
Vinci, I know what you mean, but
Vinci had a one-on-one match last week, but Vinci and Kaiser they've been right there with Gunther. So I mean, you're looking for tag teams. I'm just to not put them in. It makes me think that there's something else going on in that story that you know.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So yeah, that should be a good one. The chat seems pretty split. Secular title belt says Gunther. Zach says Sami Zayn. Baby Ice says Gunther. And yeah, it looks very split. So that means it must be a good matchup because no one can decide. Jimmy, this one goes to you. Bayley versus Io Sky for the women's championship.
I think Bayley not only deserves this championship, she earned it. And I think this is a good choice right now because the people are behind her big time. We talk about the organic feel that Rhea Ripley is getting. I think Bayley is getting that similar kind of vibe. And her winning the title will definitely help that.
Yeah, Ethan says Bayley. Tommy O says Bayley. Justin, do you also say Bayley?
I will gamble all of my snacks and beverages on both nights that Bayley's winning.
Yeah, Bayley's winning this one. I would be absolutely shocked if Bayley didn't win. NYC Demon Diva also says Bayley. I would be shocked if she doesn't win. Bayley should definitely win. Then, so we go to the next one is, I can't remember whose turn it is to start. Justin?
I think it's Justin, yeah.
Justin. Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Women's Championship.
Rhea Ripley. I said earlier, the crowd situation is going to be funny, but I think Rhea comes in as champion. She walks out as champion. That's not a very common thing to have happen at WrestleMania, but Rhea Ripley's not a very common commodity. I think she retains, and I think that the night after Mania, the Raw after, is going to be very interesting because I think that's where we might see a lot of crossroads with the Judgment Day. And I've been saying it for the last. I mean, I said it when she took on Nia Jax in Australia. She was already making this transition. It felt like to the crowds embracing her, and now she has a whole new lineup of opponents. It's just the heels in the locker room for her to take on, and I still stand by that. I think she beats Becky, she retains, and I think moving forward in 2024, she's positioned as a face with heel opponents.
Yeah, I think a real quick shout out Nelly Belly. Good to see you as well, Nelly Belly. Everyone seems to be picking Rhea Ripley here, and I agree. And in fact, I think that it would be a bad. I think if Becky Lynch wins, it might be a Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble situation where the person you want to get cheered may get booed out of the building for winning. Jimmy, I think I think Rhea Ripley needs to win here. What say you?
I don't think she needs to, because I think I'm going to be standing on an island all alone here, because I'm going to pick Becky, and I'm going to say that Dominic is going to be the reason why. He's going to come in and try to help Mommy and cost her the title, which causes the split between her and Dominic.
Interesting. Okay. Well, you will be on that island alone, but if you're right, that means you get to cash in. It's like March Madness when you pick the underdog and you win. No one else picked it. You do really good in March Madness brackets. Next up, we got Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns and The Rock. I get this one. Yay, because this is an easy one. I'm going Roman Reigns and The Rock. Come on. Roman Reigns and The Rock are winning this. Like, there's no way they're losing this. That'd be crazy. I'm going Roman Reigns and The Rock. Jimmy.
The only reason I've changed my mind in this one is because we had the Bloodline Rules match tonight. And I get it. Why would you tease a Bloodline Rules match on night 2 if you're not going to do it? But I think that Cody pinning Rock in some form or fashion on night 1, and then leading into night 2, where we get a little vignette promo session where Roman says something to the effect of, yes, you may be the final boss, but I'll do what you couldn't get done for the bloodline, or something along those lines, and tee that up and plant that seed. So I'm going to go Cody and Seth in this one.
Wow, Jimmy, you're making me feel doubtful, but I'm naively sticking to my guns here. Justin, help me feel better about myself. Predict the same team I predicted. Give me some confidence.
I'm going to predict the same team as you, Jack.
Okay.
Jimmy makes a great case. However, I think that it's a better situation to have. Yes, we just saw Bloodline Rules tonight. I think that cements the fact that when Roman and Rock win, oh my God, we're going to have this same crap show Sunday night that Cody's got to deal with. I think that's better. I think it makes the mountain taller for Cody to climb. That's all good. I also think all the shenanigans that can take place in night 1, it can debilitate Seth, which makes him more of a limping target going into his match with Drew, which we'll get to in a second. I just don't see The Rock. Obviously things have been called inaudible. I just don't see The Rock coming back in his Mania match, him being on a losing end, even if he's not the one that takes the pinfall. I just don't see that happening. So I'm going Bloodline here. Bloodline ends night 1 standing tall.
Well, we got some predictions here. Mr. X says Jimmy is inspiring my Cody Rhodes t-shirt buys. Killer Demon says Rock definitely pins Cody. Being very specific there. Goodfellas seems to agree. And Adonde says Bloodline. We move forward to Jimmy, your pick here. You get to start with this one. And it's a doozy. Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Actually, I think it's just technically the World Heavyweight Championship. The notes say WWE World. The WWE Championship is one Roman has, but this is the World Heavyweight Championship.
I'm going Drew in this one. I think there's going to be some surprises here. I think there's going to be an attempted cash-in of the Money in the Bank, which will fail and cause even more friction with the bloodline. But Drew somehow comes ahead. If I could really quickly throw this out there, I know we're running a little long, where there's a situation in the match where Drew is working over Seth's knee badly, big time, and Seth is selling his butt off. And then he finally hits the curb stomp on Drew. Drew's laid out, but Seth can't cover because he's selling that knee so bad. Here comes Damian Priest down to cash in his Money in the Bank because he thinks it's easy pickings. And as he enters, slides under the bottom, he gives the briefcase in. So it's an official cash in of the Money in the Bank briefcase. This match now becomes a 3-way match. As soon as he slides under the bottom rope, Seth manages to get one more, curb stomp on him to take him out of the equation. Here's the Claymore, 1, 2, 3. And again, there's your champ, Drew.
Drew McIntyre with essentially 2 defenses, Justin. What are your thoughts?
I think Drew wins against Seth Rollins. But I'm not convinced that Drew walks out of WrestleMania as champion. I think Drew wins against Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins is owed some much-deserved time off and disappearance. But I think for the fact that they have CM Punk there in the ringside area, if Drew was to win and wanted to get a little alpha on Punk, then what if Punk was to do something back to Drew and Priest has still got that briefcase? And then, what a boo-hoo story that would be for Drew, that he won, had his big moment, then 60 seconds later it was all snatched away from him, all because of that damn CM Punk.
Ooh.
I think that's the direction I'm going in. And tonight on Raw, they made a point to really elevate Damian Priest and remind you that he's somebody to be respected. And that was intentional. So I'm going to go, if you're asking me to straight up McIntyre versus Rollins, I'm going McIntyre. But I don't necessarily know if McIntyre even gets to Raw as champion.
I really like that. In fact, Secular Belt says, love Justin's idea. Tox Kazim says, holy
You can't say that.
Justin. Can't say it, Tox.
Standards and practices says you can't say it.
We're not on Netflix.
You got to use a little hashtag in one of the letters there.
The powers to be said no.
Said no. So I actually really like that too, because it also, there's a lot of good stuff there. I do think I'm going to say Drew wins. I think for sure Drew wins the championship. The cash in, though, do I want to put my money down in the cash in? I like that scenario so much. I'm going to go with you, Justin. I'm going to say I think Drew wins and then gets cashed in on because of the CM Punk interference.
And I'll take it one step further. Obviously, we know it's on night 2. That should be the first match that happens, because that's a big moment. It's a lot of power pieces. Drew, Seth, Punk, Priest, a lot of power pieces. Keep that as far away from Cody and Roman, which obviously is going to end night 2. So if this is on night 2, have that start the show. Give it as much of its own shine. Do not try to put it as in the semi-main spot where it's like a match or 2 before that. Mania has become synonymous with, hey, we kick off with big matches, right? Kick off night 2 with this, so this can have its own time to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Nelly Belly blaming YouTube. It's not YouTube. We I won't get into it, but I don't want to get in trouble. But
no.
Yeah, we can't.
We have bosses.
Yes,
bosses. Up at
the final bosses.
Wrestling Inc. headquarters.
Yes.
But speaking of bosses and final bosses and people who aren't in the match but are related to the match, the final boss, The Rock, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, the undisputed Universal WWE Championship. Justin LaBar, you got first crack at the big one. Who's winning?
Cody Rhodes. There's a hashtag on X where you hashtag him and it gives you a little emoji of his look. I just can't wrap my head around all these moving parts that this is not going to be the one where he finally wins it. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know that Roman is making history. Yes, I know that The Rock legitimately is on the board of the TKO ownership that owns this company now. It's no longer Vince's company. I know that. I know that we're going to Madison Square Garden in September for some show, and that would put Roman past Hogan. I know all these things. All these things have been. I have to believe. I'm a Triple H guy. I have to believe that Triple H as a booker and Cody's a student of the game and has had conversations with Triple H and blah, 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 blah. I have to believe the conversation has been had of if Cody doesn't do it this year, if he strikes out 2 Manias in a row, he wins the Rumble 2 years in a row, and both years in a row, he strikes out while he's perfectly healthy. It's not like, we had to call an audible. If Cody doesn't win it here, what are you expecting? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want him to do? You want to go fight Logan Paul? Like, I just can't. I can't accept that. So, the La Greca's just rubbing off on me. This is Cody has to win this. I'm going Cody.
NYC Demon Diva says the argument being he has an emoji with the hashtag made me spit out my drink.
See, we just got done saying how we got bosses and I can't say certain stuff, and she's gonna go. I'll call you later.
Yeah. She can chat the live chat anything she wants, but we're beholden.
Yeah, well, she's like Rock. She has special privileges, so
yeah.
It's all fine. She says they all have emojis. Jimmy, you want to take this one first?
Sure, why not? I'll try to make it as brief as possible, but I will go Cody, and I think regardless of whether it's Bloodline Rules or not, I think that the Bloodline will try to interfere, but Cody will get some help from maybe some Hall of Famers and some legends before the match even starts. I want this to happen before the match starts so they can clear ringside and let it be Cody and Roman and let them have their match. And then Cody finally goes over. And then on Monday night, we can have the celebration and everything goes up. Maybe we get a Cody concert. And maybe he dips back into the 70s and he does something along the lines of, you may remember the song, One Rock Feeds the Fire. Roman Reigns lost his title. Cody's champ, so who's crying now?
This guy's singing.
Yeah. It's Korderas karaoke.
You have been upping the game lately, by the way, Jimmy. You're looking to get the Wrestling Inc. Host of the Year award this year, aren't you?
I didn't know there was one, but if there is, I'll gladly
I think I'm just going to say that they're starting one, and Wrestling Inc. is going to give a $10,000 prize to the person who wins it. Right, Wrestling Inc.?
Oh.
No, I should have said a bigger number. I can't pick. Oh my God, this is so hard. I am gonna go. I'm going Roman Reigns. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna go Roman Reigns because I gotta be. I want to. Because if he wins, look, he's probably like. I get it. I get why everyone's saying Cody Rhodes, and I believe everything you guys are saying. But if this is a prediction game, I gotta pick different if I want to get some wins. So I gotta go. You guys are zigging. I got to zag. I'm going Roman Reigns. I'm holding up the one more time, and I got to acknowledge the Tribal Chief one last time in WrestleMania, and I think that's gonna lead us to SummerSlam. I don't know if I really believe this. I'm just trying.
My only concern with Roman winning is, like Justin said, strike 2. I don't know if people will stay on board for strike 3. To see if strike 3 happens, not that strike 3 would happen.
I actually don't know if I don't know if I'd stay on board with Cody for another strike 3. In my heart of hearts, I believe Cody Rhodes is going to win. I just want to predict differently than you guys do. But because otherwise, I mean, I won't change my pick. I already made it. But you know what? I do think mathematically, I'm thinking Cody wins here. That leads to SummerSlam, Roman versus Rock, which leads to Rock versus Cody as the final boss next year at SummerSlam for the title, is what makes sense to me if I've got my little pencil out. But I've already made my pick, and I stick to my guns, even though I kind of regret it right now. But I stick to my guns, you guys. I made my pick, so I'm sticking with it. Blue Chew, I'm buying Jack a rubber chicken off at WWE Shop. So I hope someone kept track of all that. I did not. Maybe someone at Wrestling Inc. will. I don't know. Hopefully someone goes through the chat on Wrestling Inc. and takes notes of all of our amazing viewers and who they predicted, because I think it'd be cool to keep them on the list as well. But that does it for our super show. Everyone, let us know your overall thoughts of the show in the chat. Any final thoughts in the show in the chat or in the comments? Justin, where can the world find you? And I guess any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. I think we covered it all. Great. At Justin LaBar across the socials. And like I said, this is doing this tonight, and then join me Saturday morning and Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time. Busted Open Radio, live on Sirius XM channel 156. If you have it, Sirius XM app, you can kind of scroll through and fast forward if you need to where you want the show, or we have a condensed 45-minute podcast version of the episodes. So check that out. Saturday and Sunday. Saturday to react to the Hall of Fame, preview night 1, Sunday to react to night 1, preview night 2. It's going to be tremendous. So I encourage you guys to check it out. Myself, Jonathan Hood, great partner in crime. Let's do that, and then I'll be back. And then Monday, whenever we get to Monday for the Raw that is, I believe it'll be our Triple J here on Monday night. So
I don't think I'll be on that one because I'm flying back that day. I got to double check my flight.
Well,
I'm gonna be in Philly at the show. No big deal.
Cross country.
But Jimmy,
look at Issa still talking smack in the chat. Jesus, woo.
Wow,
she's spicy as hell. I mean,
you think this is bad? Wait until Sunday when Roman Reigns retains, and both her and I are like, we predicted right, and I was like, I didn't doubt it for a second.
Wait till Roman loses, and all of a sudden she has the ignore button on all of us. We try to call her.
There we go.
Button.
Jimmy,
on mute. Yeah.
Jimmy, where can we find you online?
No, you can find me here on Wrestling Inc. on most Wednesdays and Monday nights. Sorry, I'm foreshadowing something. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
But Monday nights and Wednesday nights here after Raw and after Dynamite, respectively, just chatting it up with you guys and whoever's on with. And, of course, the Roughing It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, and RJ holds the glue together. Brian and I may be making an appearance, it looks like, this weekend in Philly. So the Busted Open Party, we might show up.
Ooh.
Actually, why not? Hey, we are showing up. We're making it. We're breaking in there.
Brian
was already advertising like shirts he was selling, wasn't he?
I need one, so that's for sure. I haven't even got one yet. Gee, all right. But you can check us out there, and of course, my Reffin' Rants on a daily basis from Monday to Friday on all my social media platforms. Just having a little fun, throwing it out there, trying to help tighten the screws, I like to say, and maybe help out if I can. And of course, the views on Ref and Rant are those of me and me alone.
Well, those are all good shows. And Jimmy, I hope to see you in Philly myself. I'm going to be heading out on Wednesday. By the way, I've been loving the building. Bernie DC, you said you kept track. So if you can send it somewhere, maybe shoot me a DM on Twitter, and I'll try to make sure our Wrestling Inc. folks have it at Real Jack Farmer. And everyone can follow me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. And you can send those there. I'll see if we can keep a record of it. You can find me at WrestleMania. I'm going to be doing commentary for Defy to kick off the GCW collective slate of events. That'll be a super awesome show. I'm also going to be doing, I never actually got confirmation if I can say this, but I'm just going to do it because who cares? We're an hour 43 in. I'm going to be doing commentary for Progress Wrestling on Friday, which they are an awesome UK company that they're coming over, and they got a really cool slate of events or matches there too. So that's going to be super fun. And then I'm going to try to just do as much WrestleMania stuff while I'm out there. So if you're out there and you see me, come say hello. Let's grab a picture and chat. I'd love to meet you in person.
Really quickly, if anybody knows any good karaoke bars, let me know.
Oh yeah, we're gonna. Well, I'll tear it up. I do a mean Cher turn back time.
Oh
if
wow!
I could turn back time. No, I won't do.
I'm a Jimmy Buffett guy. Give me Margaritaville.
Yeah.
You know what? And Gordon Lightfoot. Take my man card. I don't care.
Don't give it to the people for free. Make them come out and see it.
Oh well. So NYC Demon Diva, she says she's in, so she'll be able to hear my walking in Memphis. In any case,
we'll see it on the ground.
We will absolutely see you all. Make sure to follow at Wrestling Inc. and check out our After NXT show tomorrow. And make sure to follow Wrestling Inc. for all the updated news. That does it for us. It's time to get to the end.